Good day. How are you today? Okay, I'm glad you're good. So today in mathematics, we're going to be looking at square roots and simplification. Okay, are we ready for today's lesson? We're with our books and our pencils to get into today's lesson, right? Good. So we're going to be looking at square roots first. Okay, are we ready? Now, what do we mean by square root? Square root of a number is the value that when multiplied by itself results in the original number. Square root is represented by this symbol. The square root is represented by this symbol. The square root involve finding the number that when multiplied by itself equals a given value. Example, we have square root of 4. You don't write square root out, you use the symbol. So we say square root of 4 is equals 22 because 2 times 2 will give us 4. Okay? That is how we got 2 as the square root of 4. Remember, it involves finding the number that when multiplied by itself, it will give you a given value. When 2 multiply itself, it will give you 4. So the square root of 4 is 2. We're going to also be looking at the squares. What do we mean by squares? In mathematics, a square refers to the result of multiplying a number by itself. It represents using exponent of 2, which is raised to power 2. For example, we have 2 squared is equals to 2 raised to power 2, which is 2 times 2. The raised to power 2 represents that 2 should be multiplied twice, which is 2 times 2, which is giving us 4. Okay? Good. So squares involve multiplying a number by itself, and square root involve finding the number that when multiplied by itself or by another number equals the given value. So we're going to be looking at some examples to help us understand this better. Okay? We have example 1 here. Find the square root of this number using factors. Now we have square root of 26. If we look through our multiplication table, we will not find two numbers that are the same that when multiplied, they will give us 26. So we are going to be using factors to find the square root of 26. Okay? Good. So we write out 26. Draw out your lines. Write out 26. Think of a number that when divided by 26, it will not have a remainder. We start with 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2 divided by 3, 6 is 3. So we have 13. We have to think of another number that when divided by 13, it won't have a remainder. There is no number that can divide 13 and won't have a remainder. So we take 13. 13 can only divide itself and it won't have a remainder. So 13 divided by 13 is 0. So factors of 26 are 2 times 13 equals to 26. So the square root of 26 is 2 times 13. Remember, the square root can also involve any number that multiplies itself that will give us the same value. This is the value we are looking for, the square root of this value. And there are no two numbers that can multiply itself that will give us 26. That's why we use this method. And when we did, we had 2 times 13, which is this. If you multiply these two, it will give you 26. So the square root of 26 is equal to 2 times 13. Let's look at another example. We have find the square root of this number using factors. Square root of 95. We have to find the square root of 95. So we write out 95 and think of a number that when it divides 95, there will not be a remainder. If we want to start with 2, if 2 divides 95, there will be a remainder. If you say 3, 3 divides 95, there will be a remainder. 4, 4 divides 95, there will be a remainder. The next number is 5. And if we use 5 to divide 95, there will not be a remainder. 5 divided by 95 will give us 19. So we think of a number that when divided by 19, there will not be a remainder also. But 19 is a prime factor, so it can only divide itself. So 19 divided by itself is 0. So the factors of 95 are 5 times 19 equals 95. So the square root of 95 is equal to 5 times 19. There is no perfect number for 95 that when it multiplies itself, it will give us that number. So there are two different numbers that when they multiply itself, it will give you 95. So the square root of 95 is 5 times 19. Did we understand that? Good. We have here, find the factor of the square root of this number, 225. This is a bigger number. We are still going to apply the factor pattern we did the previous slide, okay? Draw out your line and increase your number 225. You think of a number that when it divides 225, there will not be a remainder. If 2 divides 225, there will be a remainder. So we go over to the next number. We have 3. If 3 divides 225, there will not be a remainder. We have 75. We think of another number that can divide 75 without a remainder. We have 3. 3 divided by 75, we have 25. We think of a number that when it divides 25, there will not be a remainder. It can only be 5. So 5 divided by 25 is 5. And 5 divided by itself is 1. Okay? So the factors are 3 raised to power 2, which is 3 times 3. So we wrote it as 3 raised to power 2 times 5 times 5 here, we wrote it as 5 raised to power 2. So the square root of 225 is 3 times 5 equals 15. We change the squares into a root sign. So we have 15. 15 square is equal to 15 times 15, which is 25. So the square root of 225 is 15. Okay, the square root of 225 is 15, because if 15 multiply itself, it will give us 225. Do we understand that? Now this number 225 had a perfect square. It has a perfect square root because 15 multiplied by itself, 15 times 15 gave us 225. Unlike these other numbers, this one had a different number. 5 times 19 gave us 95. Then this had its own perfect square that 15 times 15 will give you the given value. Okay? We have perfect square like the previous one. The previous one was a perfect square because 15 times 15 gave us 225. So another example of perfect square is square root of 4 is equal to 2, which is because 2 times 2 is equal to 4. The square root involves finding the number that when multiplied by itself, when it multiplies itself, that is a perfect square. Okay? Now the square root of 9 is equal to 3 because 3 times 3 is 9. So it's a perfect square. The square root of 16 is 4 because 4 times 4 is 16. It's a perfect square. The square root of 25 is 5 because 5 times 5 is 25. It's a perfect square. They are the same numbers that multiply themselves. Okay? They are not different numbers that multiply the same. They are the same numbers that multiply themselves. We have 36 times square root of 36 is equal to 6 because 6 times 6 will give us 36. So those are perfect square. Okay? This is our squares and square roots table from 1 to 12. We are to go through it to know our square roots and squares from 1 to 12. Okay, we can do that, right? Good. So now we're going to be moving over to simplification. Okay? Simplification using BODMAS. What does BODMAS stand for, which is BODMAS? B stands for bracket, O stands for off, D stands for division, M stands for multiplication, A stands for addition, S stands for subtraction. That is BODMAS. So we are going to be simplifying numbers using BODMAS. So simplifying number means expressing an equation or equation that is given to you into the simplest form. So we're going to be using BODMAS to do that, okay? Here we have simplify 5 plus 3 times 2. In BODMAS, we are going to be following the pattern. If there is a bracket sign, we start with brackets. If there is a division sign, we start with division. If there is a multiplication sign, we start with multiplication. If there is a addition, we start with addition. And if there is subtraction, we start with subtraction. So whenever any of these are there, you start with the one that comes first. We have 5 plus 3 times 2. In the BODMAS, there is no division here and there is no bracket for this equation, but we have multiplication and addition. So multiplication comes first. Even if the multiplication sign came before the times, in BODMAS that we are using, multiplication came first. So we are going to start with multiplication. We say 3 times 2 is equals 6. Then what do we do next? We add. when we get our answer. So 5 plus 6 is equals 11. So this is the simplest form of 5 plus 3 times 2 is equals 11. Okay, another one we have simplify 12 divided by 3 plus 4. Remember, we look at our board signs and know which one comes first. Here we have division, so we're going to be starting with division because division came before addition. Okay, so we start with division. 12 divided by 3 is going to give us what? 4. We have done this equation, so move over to the plus sign on, then we add 4 plus 4, which is this 4 we got here from 12 divided by 3. 4 plus this 4 is equals 8. So the simplest form for 12 divided by 3 plus 4 is equals to 8. Do we understand that? Good. Let's look at another example. We have here simplify 5 plus 3 times 4 minus 2, bracket 4 minus 2, sorry. So here in this equation, we have a bracket sign. And remember, in our board mass, B comes first. We have to focus on the brackets first. So we start with bracket. When you minus 4 minus 2, it will give you 2. Then what is next? There is no, then we multiply because there's a multiplication sign here. So 3 was to multiply this bracket 4 minus 2. We have done the bracket sign, which is 2. So we say 3 times 2, which is 6. Okay, when we are done with that, we'll go over to the next sign, which is the addition sign. After the multiplication is the addition. So we say 5 plus 6 is equals to 11. This is the simplest way of writing this equation. Do we understand that? Good. Now we are going to be simplifying fractions and decimal. Okay, well, to simplify 1 over 2 plus 3 over 4 minus 1 over 4. Using the board mass formula, we have the plus sign and the minus sign here. And in board mass, the addition sign comes first, right? Before the minus sign. So we're going to focus on 1 over 2 plus 3 over 4 first. So we start by adding 1 over 2 plus 3 over 4. To add this fraction, we have to make the denominator have a common denominator. So we have to, the a common denominator should be 4. So we write our equation as 2 over 4 plus 3 over 4. When we add 2 plus 3, it will give us 5. Since it's a common denominator, we write 4. So we have 5 over 4. So we have to do the minus sign next. So we then subtract 5 over 4 minus 1 over 4. Remember, we have solved this equation. That's why we have 5 over 4 here. So minus 1 over 4 is going to give us 5 minus 1 will give us 4. And the denominators are the same, so it's over 4. If 4 divides itself, it will give us 1. So the simplest way of this is 1. Okay? Did we understand that? Now let's go over to simplifying the decimal. We have 3.2 plus bracket 3.5 times times 1.5 bracket minus 0.8. In the board sign, the bracket comes first, so we're going to be focusing on the bracket first. We say 2.5 times 1.5 is equals to 3.75. Okay, after we have done with the brackets, which sign comes first next is the plus. The plus comes before the minus, right? Yes. So we say 3.2 plus 3.75. It's going to give us 6.95. Okay, we have gotten our answer of 3.2 plus the bracket, which we got 3.75. So now we have to minus 0.8. So 6.95 minus 0.8, our answer is going to be 6.15. Did we get that? I hope we understood this. Okay, very good. Now we are going to be moving over to algebraic expression. We are going to be moving over to algebraic expression, how to simplify algebraic expression. Okay,